Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Wow. Welcome to the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. And listen, it's hard to believe that we are wrapping up the season. This is the very last show of 2023. And I am going to be unveiling, y'all, the the five top lessons I've learned all year. And let me just tell you, these are good because although I learned the lesson, there are lessons for not only me, but you as well, and lessons that you might have learned or that you can take into the new year. And so I'm excited to hop into these right after this. Okay, all right. So oh Lord, I had to think real hard about this because I mean, when you're doing a show like this, you gotta go back, right? This has been a long year. We are post-pandemic. A lot of stuff has absolutely happened this year. And so I had to give myself some time to really think about what were some of the major lessons that I learned this year. And I came up with five. I really came up with more, but of course, I wanted to narrow it down to five because, baby, we could be here all day talking about the lessons I learned because I absolutely learned a lot. But before we jump into that, if you are here with me live on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show, go ahead and drop your name and where you're calling in from in the chat. I'd love to give you a shout out on this last show of the year. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it because I'm telling you, these lessons are good. So the first one, the first thing I really learned this year was that rest is a must. It's not a want. Rest is an absolute must. Now, here's the thing. If you know me, right? If you know me and those who know me, y'all know that I am very ambitious. I'm a go-getter. You probably think that I'm always on the go. And for the most part, I am, right? If you look at my life, you'll look at the fact that I'm always on the go. I'm doing things, consistently building my business with my family, my husband, my kids, all of that. But this year, I really set out to just figure out what rest is for me. Hi. Okay, Coach K from the DMV, welcome. I wanted to figure out what rest was for me because I wanted to understand what made me optimal, right? What made me optimal so that I could function at a high level when I needed to function at a high level, right? But here's the thing, I didn't know it going in. I could burn the candle at all, burn the candle all night. I could get up really early. I could get a little sleep and I'd still be going. But guess what? Something in my body was saying, hey, no, this is not how you're supposed to do things. You you can still be ambitious. You can still get stuff done and also rest. Ooh, that probably should have been it. Ooh, that probably should have been the lesson, right? You can still go after it. I know so many of you, like myself, are just go getters. I mean, you're gonna get it done. If it's gonna get done, you're gonna get it done, girl. I understand it. But we also need the rest. And this year I set out to try to figure out what that is for me because I realized that rest is not something that I just want, it's something that I must have. I must have not rest just in sleep, but just an opportunity to let my brain do nothing. Okay? Because she be working all the time, right? But that opportunity to let my brain do nothing. And I found a couple of ways to do that, right? So one way I found was, which has been later on in this year, I got the Aura ring. If y'all see this one, this is the matte black. It's called Stealth Aura ring. And if y'all don't know anything about the Aura ring, I don't got no sponsorship or anything. I probably should, but this is a ring that actually helps you track your sleep patterns and your optimal health. So it tells you based off your sleep, based off your activity, how optimal you are to do hard work or vigorous work or exercise, or just how optimal you are for the day. And this has been extremely helpful for me. I realized that I haven't been getting enough deep sleep in my life. And that's just something that I'm going to have to work on in terms of getting deep sleep, because I need to get to sleep earlier. And I think you get your deep sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And I am sleeping during that time. And so I found myself now with the Aura Ring getting in the bed sooner, earlier, because I know I want to get up earlier, which is the second way I've been able to get more rest. Now, you might be like, how do you get rest when you wake up early? Like this week, I've been waking up at 4 a.m. because I got stuff to do. But here's the thing: when I wake up early at 4 or 5 a.m., the world is asleep. Every single body sleep. Ain't nobody up. Now, people might be up, but they ain't up messing with me or messaging me or emailing you. You get that time to yourself. And so this year has been beautiful because I've been able to have time to read my Bible, to pray, to read any kind of self-help books. As you can see, I'm surrounded by books. So I'm always reading, I'm always listening to a book. I've been able to really just think. And that's one thing that we don't have an opportunity to do. If you're like me and you are a mother, baby, when them kids get home, there is no time to think like at all. And so if you get up, like just think about this. I want you to think about this. If you get up and the first thing that happens when you get up, you hit the ground running. You got kids, or even if you don't got kids, you got to get yourself straight to school or straight to work or straight to do whatever you're supposed to. And then you're in that job or you're in school or you're doing whatever you're doing all day, right? 8, 10 hours a day. You come home, you got to get something to eat, and then you go to bed. Where in your day did you have time to even just breathe? To even just think? None. And if you're like me, the weekends are busy with my kids' activities. And so we try to hold one of those days just for us, which is Sundays. But sometimes stuff get put on Sundays as well. So when do you have time to think? When do you have time to dream? When do you have time to plan your next move, the next, thing that you want to do in your life? You don't. So I found that time in the morning as a beautiful, restful time that gives me time to just be at peace and to really think about what's next for me that day, and even what's next for me that week, and even what's next for me that month, and so on and so forth. And so it's been beautiful. So the first one, like I said, is rest is a must, not a want. You got to find some time to rest. You got to get to bed earlier. Those 7 to 8 hours, they are not a joke. I can tell you, try it for yourself. Get consistently 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. You will be a different person. Your body will tell you so. All right. So that's number one. The second lesson that I really learned is saving money is life changing. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. A lot of you know my backstory. I grew up with a mom who was addicted to drugs, and I ended up having a money problem because I grew up with a poverty mindset, right? I grew up with a poverty mindset. And when you have a poverty mindset, it's kind of like, you know, you just spend money, and money is different for you, and you don't know how to keep money, and you want these, you want all these things, and it's just a difficult way to be. And so I grew up with that poverty mindset, which then gave me all these terrible money habits, right? These bad money habits as I was growing up. And I went through a lot of financial woes, a lot of financial ups and downs throughout my career because of the poverty mindset. And I've learned, yeah, I've learned like half of the books that I even still listen to is about money and how to manage money and stuff like that. And it was so funny because I was speaking on a conference just on Monday, I think, no, Tuesday, Women We Admire conference. And I was talking about happiness. And one of the women, she asked me, well, how did you overcome your money issues? And as you know, because you grew up in the house that was poor and just all that. And I was like, did I say I overcame it? And I mean, part of that was, I was being funny, but part of it was like, when you grow up with the poverty mindset, you have to continuously work at that thing. It's not something that you be like, oh, boom, I am changed, never again will I ever waste money. No, you have to work at it all the time. And I do, and I have worked on it. But I found this other beautiful thing about working on my money and having savings. And nowadays, I'd rather look into my bank account and see money versus look around my house and see things. Like, I'd rather have, you know, money in the bank account versus things. And that is a shift from the way I grew up. It was because money was so scarce, I would want money to get things, right? And now I want money to save so that I can have freedom. Let me say that again. So that I can have freedom over my time and my energy and where I place my time and energy. And so I think this has definitely been a major, just shift in just the way I operate. And let me say, I've been saving for a while, but I just think that it has really come to light that this gives you money in the bank, gives you so much more security than you could ever think that it does. And savings is the thing to do that. And a lot of us think that we got to save for something and we got to, you don't have to have an item that you're saving for. You just have to save, right? Look at, different investments. I've read a lot of books. My latest book was The Psychology of Money. And it was so very spot on because a lot of times we feel like we have to be the biggest investors in order to save money and to accumulate money, but you don't. You can put yourself in an index fund. I've heard about target date index funds, all of that stuff. You can do all these things, save money, and have security. Because there's nothing like being able to take care of yourself financially when a crisis happens. And I say when, because something gonna happen in your lifetime that you're gonna need some substantial amount of money for, that if you have it, you're good, but if you don't, you're screwed. And so that has been like a really a major thing for me this year. I was reading, I was listening to the book, and somebody was saying that they'd rather have $5,000 in a plastic bag than a Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it. I mean, think about it. But I know we got a whole bunch of Louis Vuitton toting mamacitas out here, but do you got the money to go in that Louis? My girlfriend, Dr. Gail Crowder, she said that she never purchases anything, which, I mean, she's past this point, but she would never purchase any kind of bag if she didn't have the money that the bag cost in the bank. So if that bag costs you $3,500, you better have at least $3,500 in the bank. And this is not what you buy in the bag with. This is after you bought the bag. If you're buying a $3,500 bag, then you better have a $3,500 in your bank account. But a lot of us don't. And that to me is sad. And I think that sometimes we have to get our priorities together when it comes to this. Now, I'm not judging nobody. I got a Louis, I got several, right? But I changed in the sense that, like, I'd rather have the money in the bank versus just these things. And so I'm just sharing with y'all what I learned, right? Like y'all can take it, you can leave it, but it's been so important to me to learn that lesson because if I need to quit or if I need to not work with the client or if I need to, whatever I need to, if we have a major emergency, I got it. I got it because I've learned how to save. So what you say? Darlene, yes, this is our journey. It's going so beautifully. Thank you. Yes, honey. Yes, this is Sasha. Tabitha told us we should name our hair. So Sasha is growing so nice and beautiful. Thank you. All right. So number 3. Woo, I'm about to get y'all on this one because it's so huge. True success is measured by self-worth and not by net worth. Okay, Kiki, you just talked about money and saving money. What you mean by that? Ooh, good. Let me just tell you, right? Let me say it again first. True success is measured by self-worth and not net worth. Let me just say to you, we've all been on a journey. And I know that we've all, a lot of us have been on this self-care and self-love, self-worth journey at some point in our lives. And I've seen so much with my coaching and me coaching women, and especially women executives in top level positions in organizations. I've seen how much enough is never enough. Enough is never enough for a lot of us, right? Like, and I mean, even in my own journey, when it comes to my ambition, I've had to like really step back and ask myself, all right, you have these goals, but can you still be happy with what you've already done? And I had to reconcile with that. I had to reconcile with that. And as I'm pushing so hard, I had to ask myself, why are you pushing yourself so hard? Like, what are you trying to get to? Like, what are you actually trying to do for yourself? And it's been a really beautiful, hard journey. And I was speaking on that conference the other day, and it was so interesting because one of the women asked a question, and she said, I've done so well in my career. I'm like top 2% earner. I have several properties. I have a family, all these amazing things. But she was like, but I still don't think I'm successful. Woo! And here is the real deal. Here's the real reason why I said your success is measured by your self-worth and not net worth, because it does not matter how much you've accomplished. If you don't feel worthy, then that will not be enough. It will never be enough. Because she said, I think it's a self-worth thing. I was like, absolutely. Hands down, it is. Until you value yourself and what you bring to the world. I ain't even saying to the table, to the world, because your mere existence is a miracle and it matters, right? And so as I've been on my journey of growth and everything like that, my husband has always often had to say, do you see what you did? Like, do you have you seen what you've done? Because I can tend to gloss over what I've done because I think that I should have already done that. And you probably do the same thing. But here's the thing. Here's where we get mixed up. A lot of us have this definition of success in our eyes. And until we meet that definition of success, we don't feel successful. But I challenge you to think about the definition that you've built for yourself in terms of success, because that definition can keep on moving and moving and moving and moving, which means you're never going to feel successful. You're never going to feel worthy. What is worthy? Worthy of success, worthy to live the life that you're living. It's an internal feeling. It's a box that you have put yourself in, or you've allowed other people to put you there and you haven't decided to break out of that box. And I think that we have to do that for ourselves. We have to break out of those boxes and understand that if you've reached some goals, that's success. Every goal that you reach is success. Every single one. It doesn't matter what it looks like. And so, as so what you have to do here is you have to look at your definition of success and you have to reconcile with that definition. Is that definition serving you? Can you be content at where you are right now? There is so much to say about contentment. Ooh, child, y'all want content. And hear me and hear me well. Just because you're content, just because you're grateful, doesn't mean that you can't want for other things, right? Like, I've done so much. I'm so proud of me, right? Like, I was just celebrated on the cover of Berea College's magazine, which is my beloved alma mater. And I mean, me and my family were on the cover. They did a whole story. They flew here to Georgia from Kentucky, followed us for about 3 days to do the story. It's so beautifully written. Shout out to Berea, Abby Darst, and everything. But to get on the cover of your college's magazine, for them to see all that you've done, and then for me to then turn around and say I haven't done enough, that's being disingenuous. Come on now. So you have to recognize what you've already done. And if I didn't do any more, I know that I was here. I would have known that I was here, and you would too. If I don't move out of the place that I am now, I'm good because God has truly blessed me. And I also know that any doors that are going to open up to me in the future are going to be because He wants it to. And I'm going to say the same thing for you. The doors that are supposed to open up for you will open up for you, but you have to be okay with where you're at and still have goals for the future. Both can exist in the same sentence. It doesn't have to be either or. Both can exist. You can have success and love yourself and be okay with where you are and still want more. Because here's what happens. You would have to be okay with not getting more. Can you be okay with that? That's the true question. Is if you never got more, would you be okay? Can you be happy where you are? That's why I always talk about create your own happiness, because we have the opportunity to do so, but a lot of times we choose not to. So, Tiffany, thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, number 4, relationships. I've learned that relationships matter over everything. And I teach this to all of my clients. I do diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And at the end of the day, when it comes to DEI, if you can build real relationships with people in your organization and you can learn how to communicate, half of our diversity problems will be solved. People try to make it more complicated than that, but it ain't. Half of them be solved. And so for me, I learned this lesson a long time ago when it came to my mom. And although she had a drug addiction, I loved her. And that relationship was one of the most important in my entire life. It shaped who I am. It shaped what I do right now as my profession. It's because I went through that relationship. I did life with my mother, who had her own flaws. And guess what? I have my own flaws. And guess what? You have your own flaws. And when we understand that we all come to relationships flawed, then we will stop expecting for people to be perfect, because nobody is perfect. If I can't be perfect, then I darn sure can't expect for you to be perfect. And I had to learn that in my relationship with my husband, and absolutely in my relationship with my children. If I'm not perfect, why would I expect for my kids to be perfect? They're not. So I need to learn some patience. So I moved closer to my family about 2 years ago from the DMV, which is District of Columbia, Virginia, and Maryland. So I moved to Atlanta from there, and I've gotten to see my family so much more because of them, right? Because I'm here, because I'm here right now. I've gotten to see my family so much more, and that was important to me because for a long time we were in the DMV. I, I was missing my family. I wanted to see them more. So since I've been here, we've gotten to go down for Thanksgivings. We've gotten to go to Disneyland or Disney World, and I mean, we've gotten to do so many things together because I'm in closer proximity, and that has made a true difference. There's a lot of us who are estranged for family, and a lot of times this time is very hard for people. Um, it's the holiday time, and some of us are estranged for some of our family, but also I want to just say the petty stuff doesn't matter. A lot of a lot of us have so much pettiness. We're not talking to people because they're petty. And Tiffany, yes, kids are very humbling, baby. They will tell you all about yourself. Okay. So, um, but literally, we are holding on to these little small things that have kept us away from our family. And I want to say, what is it worth? What is it worth not talking to your sister? What is it worth not having a relationship with your mother? Like, is it really that serious? Now, let me just say this. I know that we have trauma. I understand it. I get it. I understand it. But I also know that we, you, we're the only ones that are responsible for our lives. We're responsible. And when I learned that I was responsible for my life, I didn't realize that I had the power to create my own happiness. Right? Before then, I was blaming my mom for everything, but I had to take my life into my own hands, and you do too. And we can't blame all of our woes on our relationships. So if you're not talking to somebody, what is it worth? Maybe this is your opportunity to practice some forgiveness in your life. And I talk a lot about forgiveness because it's been one of the catalysts that helped me in a lot of my relationships. Because when you grew up in a household like mine, there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot that went on, and I had to forgive. I had to forgive me. I had to go through this process. And so maybe it's an opportunity for you to forgive. So over this season, think about who that is, and think about potentially writing a letter. You ain't even got to send the letter to them. You can just write the letter, hold the letter, reread the letter, cry about the letter, tear the letter up, and then let it go. And then you probably have to do that process over and over and over again, because I did. It's just not like one letter, it's a whole process. But eventually, you can move through it. You ain't gonna never forget, but you'll move through it, and you can come out on the other side a better person. True relationships, building true relationships fosters a sense of belonging. Like, because I have very good relationships, I feel like I belong. If you do that in your workplace, you'll feel like you belong. If you do that in your home, you'll absolutely feel like you belong. But I know that there's some people who feel like they don't even belong in their own home. Let's go to the root cause and start building up the relationship. All right. And then my last one, if not the most major lesson that I learned in 2023, y'all, drum rolls, please, is you can't care more about other people's problems than they do. Woo! Mm. Dr. Kiki, come on, girl. Let me say it again. You cannot care more. Hear me and hear me well. For other people's problems than they do. Now, this one was huge. I mean, it's in my nature. I mean, literally, I'm in the school for social work. I was a therapist. I'm an executive coach right now. I'm a positive psychologist. My whole job is caring about people and helping people through difficult times and hard stuff, and coaching people through tough times, and trying to figure out where they want to be in life and everything like that. So trust me, this was a hard one, but I had to learn, because at one point, and this is not just with my clients, this is also with my family as well, and my friends. I would find myself getting so frustrated about the way people are living their lives, and how people are getting themselves in binds, or having obstacles that they could that they didn't have to have. Like they didn't have to have these obstacles. They could have avoided these obstacles if, number one, they got some advice from somebody. Number two, if they took the advice that I had given them in the first place. Number three, they just had some common sense. Like it just was so much. And then I had to take a step back, and I was like, you know what? Nah, nope. If you are not concerned about your problems enough to make a change, or to do the actions that's necessary to get you out of it, I ain't got nothing for you. I don't. I am here for you as a support sounding board, but I cannot do it for you. And I cannot give all of my energy into making you do it. You have to be motivated enough to get out of your own way. And if you're not, then it's just not going to happen, right? Because they have to take the responsibility. People have to take responsibility for their own lives, and no amount of help. I just want y'all to know this, right? No amount of help that you try to give a person who has not taken responsibility for their lives will work. I don't care. Like if it's money, right? Like I found myself in certain situations when it comes to money, and if that person that I'm going to give money to haven't done the necessary things to start to change their life around, then that means I'm throwing money into an abyss, into a black hole. The money just going down into a black hole. So if you're doing that, you're throwing your money down a black hole, and there is no landing. And so that means you're enabling that person. And trust me, I know a whole lot about enabling from being with a mom who had a drug issue. So I know about enabling. And I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. And you probably are in the same boat. You may have been enabling somebody in your life, and if it's with money and they've not done the basic things to get themselves out of the situation, you're going to continue enabling them until you're not. But here's the thing: no amount of money you can throw at a problem is going to solve it for that person if they're not willing to accept responsibility for their own life and get up and do something about it for themselves. You cannot do for them what they won't do for themselves. It doesn't work. And I had to really learn that this year. And the funny thing is, as a coach, I learned in coach training school. Shout out Life University, which is where I also teach. I learned way back then that the coach, as the coach, the client owns the responsibility. The client owns the problem. And even as therapists, that's something that I learned. So that was even something in my social work training. Shout out UGA, MSW program. So that's in everything. The person in your life owns the problem. The only people who are exempt from this are children, because guess what? They kids. But adults, anybody who is, I'll say, over the age of 21, whatever, right? Some people might want to say over the age of 18, but I'll give you 21. What? And so So that was a really powerful lesson for me, not only in my personal life, but also in my business life, because I believe, and if I say I believe this, I believe that we come to our situations whole and we have everything that we need in order to overcome our challenges. If I believe that, if you believe that, that people in your life and even yourself comes to a situation whole and you have everything that you need inside of you to overcome your issue, then you are able to do what it takes to overcome that issue. They are able to overcome what it takes to overcome that issue. They are able to do that. I have enough faith in them to know that they can do that. And so I pulled back. I'm still here for everybody. I'm always going to be here, but I set boundaries with myself. I didn't have to tell everybody either that I was setting these boundaries. I just knew what I was and was not willing to do anymore. I'm here. I will listen. I will give you so much love and support, but there's only so much I will do nowadays because I'm not enabling anybody else and I can't care more than you do. So the moment I understand that you don't care, I'm like, okay, well, you might be in this situation for a long time because I can't get you out. I can't. And I think about that whole thing when I was like younger, and even when I was going through like a whole bunch of money situations, and I had a mentor say that, I wouldn't ever, give anybody real money like that because it doesn't teach them anything. You know that old saying, you teach a man to you show a man to fish, or teach a man to fish and he'll be able to fish for a lifetime. If you can show them how to do it themselves and they actually do it, then they're better off than you doing it. If I fish for you, you never learn. But if I teach you how to fish and you learn, you'll be able to do it over and over again. And it's like that with money as well. Once you learn how to make money, even if you lost money again, you'll know how to make money again because you had to go through that. You had to go through that. And so these lessons for me have been major. I'm going to take these lessons, of course, into 24 as well, but they have really changed my life in 23. And I can't wait to find out what lessons I learned in 2024. What's interesting is when you always say that, you do know that hard times is coming. Like, you learn lessons during hard times. Most of us learn them, because we go through a challenge and stuff like that. And I'm no stranger to challenges, and neither are you. So you're going to learn some lessons. But I would love, 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 love if you would also, wherever you're listening to this, respond with some of your top lessons that you've learned in 23, because I love to see them. We might have some. I still have a list of a lot of ones that I have still learned, but these were the ones that stood out the most. And so I'd love to hear yours. Drop me a line, drop me a on the podcast. Share this podcast as well, right? Share the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show with somebody who you think needs to hear at least these top 5. And we're going to be sending out, if you're not on my newsletter list, go to kikiramsey.com and fill out your information, get on the newsletter. I'm going to drop the top 5 Dr. Kiki Ramsey shows of 2023. That's going to be coming up soon. And it might surprise you which ones were the top shows. And if you are a woman who wants major professional and personal development, and you really want to learn how to create your own happiness, I invite you to join us over at Happy Women Lead. So just go to kikiramsey.com and join us in the Happy Women Lead Academy community. I look forward to seeing y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening, for watching this year. Share the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show with somebody you care about, and share it with somebody you might not care about, because they might they might listen to something that is going to be life-changing for them. All right, y'all. I love y'all. And remember that you have the ability